So in this one, we're going to look at adding rate limiting using Rails built-in rate limit helpers. So I've set up some specs here for doing the rate limiting. It'll go through and do certain numbers of post requests and things like that around signups, registrations and sign-ins, and also adding a general rate limit as well across the whole application. So we'll start by running these specs and they should fail. So as we can see, a whole bunch of failures. We can go to our registrations controller, which is where people sign up, and we can say rate limit to 5 within 15 minutes, and we'll say only create, and we can save this. And the other thing we can add on to this is you can use with, and that will basically give you a block to say what happens whenever the rate limits get exceeded. So you can respond with just plain text saying rate limit exceeded, please try again later, and give it the 429 HTTP status request as well. So we'll stick with this for now and hit save. And if we go back and run these requests now, we should get a few more passing. So we still have 14 examples and 10 failures. The next thing I want to look at is the sessions controller. So in here, we'll add 2 examples. We'll add logins per IP address to 5 within 20 minutes. And then we'll add logins per email address. So that can kind of prevent someone trying to brute force log into someone else's account, even if they use multiple different IP addresses or IP spoofing or anything like that. So again, we'll save this. You'll see the by portion, and the by portion defaults to request.ip. So that's why it was left out here and left out in the registrations controller. But when we want to do it by email address, we just take this in here and look for the email param. And again, we're just responding with the exact same plain text and too many requests. So now if we go and run our specs again, we should have a few more passing. So we've got 1 extra passing in there, and we can hit save. And one thing we actually need to do is a little bit of setup here as well. So we need to go to our config environments test file, and we need to look for cache store. And where it's set to null store, we actually need to set this to memory store for our tests now, so that when we run our specs, they're able to write to the Rails cache store, which is where the rate limiting gets set up. So if we now go back to our specs and run this again, you'll see 4 passing. I think we only had 3 last time, I'm not sure, but hopefully we're making progress anyway. And one other thing we need to do then as well is go to our Rails helper, and in here we need to go down and set before each Rails cache clear. So this just means that before every test run, we're going to wipe out that cache, which will wipe out all existence of rate limits and things like that. So it means that when we run our full test suite, or on GitHub CI, for instance, we're not getting all this rate limiting happening that shouldn't be happening. So we'll come back and run our specs again. And we've got a bunch more passing now, actually, that we've made that change. So that looks like our rate limits are starting to work, and we can go ahead and implement our general rate limits. So in our application controller then, we'll want to, at the very top, come in and put in our general rate limit. So we want no more than 300 requests every 5 minutes based on someone's IP address. So we can save this and run the specs again, and we're nearly there with the passing specs. And then finally we can come in and put in this one. So this is for rate limiting for unsafe requests, post, put, patch, delete, and these ones are the ones that you can actually do more harm with, and we want to be stricter on this. So we want to limit to 50 within 5 minutes. And now we can come run these specs again, and we still have some issues here. So let's go and see which one's failing. So get ideas, we'll just make it get homepage and run this again and again, homepage. And now all the specs are passing. So that is our rate limiting all set up and all working with Rails defaults. You just want to be sure that in production you've also got a cache store set up, and whether that's memory store if you're running on a simple server, or more likely something like solid cache or Redis based cache. So that is everything you need. It's very easy to get set up, and this can protect you from all kinds of bot attacks or user accounts being compromised and being automated and all that sort of stuff, or even malicious users signing up to your app and using scrapers to try and pull content out of your application and things like that. This will protect against all those sorts of things, and it's really useful.